Unsubstantiated speculation about an Arturia polysynth based upon the Brute architecture has been flying around since the Mini Brute appeared in 2012, and with increasing intensity after the launch of the Matrix Brute in 2016. But while the company said nothing on the matter and continued to flood the world with soft synths, monosynths, plugins, MIDI controllers, drum machines and audio interfaces, their developers were busy behind the scenes. They recently told me that they had been working on their first analog polysynth for more than 3 years, so when they asked me whether I would like to test it prior to its release, it's not hard to guess how I replied. Arturia are known across the industry for their innovative instruments brimming with cutting-edge tech, and the new PolyBrute is no exception. It's a powerful and intuitive 61-key, 6-voice polysynth augmented by hands-on controls, intriguing sound morphing, a stereo dual filter system, and modulation functionality with almost limitless possibilities. Building on the legacy of its Mini Brute and Matrix Brute predecessors, the PolyBrute brings its very own unique voice to the table. You have real-time control over the finest details of your sound, thanks to the PolyBrute's range of dedicated switches and knobs that span the unit's panel. These make navigation and setting tweaks an absolute breeze, and even generate MIDI information. This means you can record any change you make, becoming a seamless part of anything you're working on in your DAW. And that's just the start. Within each analog voice, a suite of tools help you to mold tones that are completely your own. Each contains a pair of Brute wave shaping vocals, a Steiner multimode filter, full spectrum noise generator, 3 LFOs, 3 envelope generators, a custom low-pass ladder filter, and a whole lot more. This suite amalgamates in the matrix, allowing for modular style patching flexibility. The 6 available voices can be harnessed polyphonically or in layers and splits, depending on your sonic preferences. This makes the possible variation on sounds almost limitless, with tones spanning just about everything you can think of. This is the backbone of the PolyBrute. It gives you 768 presets to experiment with, which can be accessed immediately. Using the Matrix interface, you'll be able to alter parameters and utilize modes which will benefit your composing, recording and performance workflow. For example, sequencer mode benefits your polyphonic sequence generation, hybrids and arpeggios. This is made simple, as the Matrix transforms into an easy-to-reference visual interface, displaying the key info required. You can also record and then replay notes, as well as any changes you make to your synth settings, resulting in a sequencer with exciting and evolving modulation capabilities. With Mods mode, the Matrix buttons section is turned into a digital patch bay. This lets you route controllers and modulation sources to affect a whole host of different parameters. In total, there are 32 modulation directions and 64 connections, meaning there's plenty to play around with here. Each built-in preset on the PolyBrute exists in 2 differing states at the same time. What does that mean though? Well, you can use the morph knob to swap between each on the fly, ensuring you can craft some constantly evolving sounds. Multifunction/pitch wheels only increase your opportunities with a serious level of expression and flexible assignment of parameters both on offer. These are bolstered further by a touch-sensitive section at the top of the keyboard that unlocks even more sonic variety and control. However, it's the morphy 3-dimensional touchpad where things get even more exciting. This allows for 32 assigned matrix modulations per axis, as well as 3-axis control of arpeggiator and sequence randomization and patch morphing. Speaking of sequencing and arpeggiation, the PolyBrute is equipped with enhanced functions in both departments. When it comes to arpeggios, you can create arpeggios that flow in a variety of alternate ways, with the option of repetition in the high octaves. Add to this a matrix arpeggiator mode, boasting a hybrid 16-step system, and you can craft far more developed arpeggiated pieces. The matrix can then be used in sequencer mode to develop a 64-step sequence, letting you explore dynamic alterations and real-time modulation, without needing to be near the keys. This sequence can then be changed using randomization, accents, velocity and more to create something that's far more interesting. Right and left unbalanced 1/4-inch jacks have been incorporated into the PolyBrute specifically for your master stereo audio output. And as the stereo field is so important, you can even control and affect the stereo displacement of voices via the output section. You use this to pan the 6 voices right or left, creating an all-embracing width in the process. Or, if you prefer, utilize the dual filter design, which can be routed in parallel for a more subtle stereo sound. It's here where you can trigger opposing dynamic sounds in the right and left channels, making for a cool auditory mix. They can also be changed further using the morphing functions. To finish off the excellent engineering, a suite of onboard premium digital effects add the sonic seasoning to any patches in stereo. These span new delays and reverbs, as well as some fan favorites from Arturia's Software FX collection. 61-note pressure and velocity sensitive keyboard. 6-voice analog morphing polysynth. Dual filter architecture, Dr. Bob Moog's 24 decibels ladder and Steiner multimode. Noise generator encompasses everything from white to red noise. 2 Brute wave shaping oscillators available per voice. Use the PolyBrute Connect software for PC/Mac to enhance your workflow and library management. MIDI out/in, plus through-DIN connectivity and USB MIDI. Right and left unbalanced 1/4 inch output jacks. Integrated stereo digital effects, delay, chorus, reverb, etc. Multi-mode complex arpeggiator. 64-step sequencer with automation and motion recorder. Pitch wheel plus an assignable multifunction modulation wheel. Assignable ribbon controller. 3-axis morphy controller allows for enhanced real-time, hands-on expression. 3 contrasting modes for the keyboard. Mono, poly and unison. Layer or split your cake using the morphable sonic states. 2 states per preset, easily blended via the morph control. 64 matrix points, allows for modular-like patching. Matrix interface for sequencing, modulation and preset control. 3 envelope generators. 3 LFOs. Filter FM and master filter control. Compatible with Arturia's wooden legs accessory, sold separately. A pressure-sensitive touchpad, plus pitchbend and modulation wheels. In addition, what looks like a decorative groove in the wooden bar behind the keyboard turns out to be a long and responsive ribbon controller. Weighing in at a chunky 20 kilograms, it's a substantial bit of kit with reassuringly solid hardware, although it still uses Arturia's usual faders, which are slightly light and wobbly. The basic unit of a PolyBrute sound appears to be the patch, but this actually contains 2 largely independent sounds named A and B. When you select single, mono-timbral mode, each voice can play A, or B, or anywhere between, and the sound can morph within the extremes under the control of, well, lots of things. In split mode, the lower zone plays A, while the upper can again play A, or B, or anywhere between, and morph between them. Layer mode is similar, with one layer always playing A, while the second can yet again play A, or B, or anything between, or morph between them. There's a pattern emerging here. In addition, the polyphony parameter determines the voice mode for each sound. 6-voice polyphonic, unison or mono. Polyphonic unison, dynamically assigned unison, voice cycling options, selectable mono/unison note priorities, legato with or without various modes of portamento, note stealing options and more can be determined independently for the 2 sounds.